You're listening to the Aviation Show,
brought to you by Debella Training.
For more information, contact us on www.debella.co.za now.
And good afternoon. Welcome back to the Aviation Show. As always, my name's Des Werner, coming to you live from 27 Boxes in Melville. This afternoon, I got the absolute pleasure of having Jeni Bester in the studio with me. Welcome, Jeni.
Thanks, Des.
I got into big trouble at school.
Bester. English Bester.
Bester, not Bester. So welcome to the show. Jeni used to be a cabin crew for, was it SAA?
For SAA, correct, yeah.
Oh, wonderful. And I'm sure you got lots and lots of stories for us.
Plenty stories, Des, some of which I can tell and some of which obviously I can't tell.
Well, it's going to make the chat a little bit longer.
We'll do that off air.
Okay, so start right at the beginning. How did you get involved with aviation? Tell us about that.
Well, Des, I kind of thought that my life was cut out for me at one stage where I was pretty much involved in the car rental stuff and I was moving up the corporate ladder there and I was quite comfortable or maybe complacent. Found myself in Cape Town with a whole lot of new friends and they were in aviation. As much as they encouraged me to join, it wasn't really something I'd considered doing. However, after a couple of months, years, they convinced me and I started to think about it.
So it wasn't a passion or a thing that was passed down from your family? Or?
Can you believe it not? It wasn't. It was something I just fell into.
Okay. And you've been in it ever since?
Well, they actually went and applied for me at SAA, believe it or not.
Okay.
And by the time SAA got back to me and invited me for a bit of an interview and the process, it was a year later I was ready.
And that was a while ago, obviously. I mean, that was a couple of years ago.
Correct. That was back in 1988 and everybody was dressing up and flying to London and Frankfurt and from Cape Town and I was getting a little jealous of them leaving. So I was then obviously successful in my application.
Okay, now that whole industry has changed. I mean, SAA used to be an absolute royal job. You used to go to London and stay there for X amount of days. It's not changed. It's not so much fun as what it used to be.
Correct. In the days gone by, I remember doing flights, 15-day Miamis, 10-day Rios, 12-day Londons.
It's horrible. I mean, that must be a tough job.
Man, it's a tough job, hey, when you're packing up and going away for those. But hey... No, you're quite right, Des. Today it's not like that anymore. You pretty much fly in and out.
And why do you think it's changed there?
I think with the with the industry the way it is, and people are flying now just as a mode of transport. It's picked up. You know how many aircrafts are in the air at once. It's a matter of getting there and back, and the routes are sort of increasing exponentially. And there's no time for cabin crew to hang out in London for 10 days. I'd say. No,
that's terrible. I know on the Emirates, I've got a lot of friends in Emirates as well, and they do a lot of east-west flying. And they get hammered because there's different time zones, and you're basically there for 24 hours, maybe a little bit longer if you're lucky, and then back you come, eh?
Well, that's it, and quite interesting. It always used to amaze me when a passenger, after getting into London, would turn around and say, "So, do you guys go back now?" Well, no, I've been working for 13 hours. I'm human. No, we actually stay here for a couple of days, sure. But not anymore. They literally go in, they night stop there, and the next day they'll be on their way back. East, west, days, absolutely. It's because of that time zone change, and you know how fatigued one can get in the circadian rhythm. And
so now tell me quickly, SAA. How long did you work for SAA for?
Des, I was there for 19 years. Most of it was flying in the capacity of a cabin crew member. However, in the last 7 years of that, they did invite me to come into the training department and put me through my paces where I trained the cabin crew and some of the pilots on some of their ground school stuff. So I had the best of both worlds. Those last 7 years when I was training, I got to fly maybe 2 or 3 months of the year. So I was pretty much doing both, and that was good for me. I didn't want to fly forever. I got tired of it.
Yeah, as you get a bit older and if you start to settle down, it's not so lekker to, once you've seen London 10 times, it's not so cool.
Well, this
anymore.
is it, hey? And I know that sounds very disrespectful for
does,
those people that haven't been there, but you do get to that point.
Yeah, no, I know. Okay, so your career started at SAA and now you're still in training to this day.
Well, that's correct. Like I said, the last 7 years I went into the training department at SAA, and unbeknown to me, the universe was preparing me for the next part of my journey, which is now. And I left SAA after those 19 years in 2007 and embarked on opening my own company, the Academy of Aviation.
So tell our listeners about that. What do you train? Because I was on one of your courses the other day, and it was, I must say, the best CRM course that I've done. So it was
you're a
really
honey.
lucky.
Thanks, Des. Yes, I do train a lot of the ground school pilot training. And, I would say about a year and a half ago, I opened up the actual passion of my life is training the cabin crew side of things. So I'm doing ground school, crew resource management, obviously your firefighting, ditching and survival and all that stuff that pilots have to do. And I've started now the initial cabin crew training. And, you know, they say when your passion meets your career, you're such a lucky person. I'm lucky to have that. My passion is my career.
So why do you say cabin crew is so important? I know the answer. I'm just asking you why.
Okay, so Des, what is your answer?
I'd say safety-wise.
Absolutely.
It's easy just to do the job, but it's nothing to do the job safely. So
well, we know that we don't negotiate safety, and that's the cabin crew training course, which is 7 weeks. We train them on all the safety aspects. We don't necessarily train them on how to serve chicken or beef. Mm-hmm. It's just the safety, and that's what they're there for. And I'm glad that people can see and identify that that's our primary function.
So once they come out of your academy now, are they fully trained? Do they go to CAA and get a license? How exactly does that process work?
Correct. Well, our training takes them through the 7 weeks of all the CAA regulated requirements. And right at the end of the 7 weeks, after doing all those sort of the theory components and your skills assessments, they then go to the CAA and they write the exam online. Obviously, once they've passed that, and nobody in my school has ever failed that, they get a license and they are now licensed cabin crew members.
And they pass it first time, or was it?
Well, I have had a 100% success rate.
Okay. That's quite good. Considering you have to write an online exam.
Exactly.
Because that cannot be manipulated, so that's nice. And then they walk out there now, say they want to go to airline. What happens then? Do they start all over again, or
no,
as far as training goes?
Well, the airline will obviously do airline policies and procedures and induction with them, and obviously we type rate them on a 737, which makes them quite marketable. So when they go to an airline, most airlines are flying Boeing at some level. So once they've got their license, say I have a license and somebody else next to me that wants a job to fly doesn't have a license, well, they just drop to the bottom of the list. So bottom line is we get them up to licensing where they are employable. However, when they are joining an airline or a charter company, they will obviously introduce them to their policies and procedures for their company.
So are the airlines only interviewing people that have been on a course, or will they interview anybody that wants to become a flight attendant?
To be honest with you, no, they're not going to just interview anybody. Why would they interview somebody who is not licensed when you've got people in the queue that are licensed? So a lot of the airlines don't actually do the initial cabin crew training, and that's what we do. When I started, the airlines did it, but not anymore. They generally allow us as aviation training organizations. We do it, and then we get them up to licensing, and then they go and apply for jobs.
Okay, so if someone had to go for an interview, that would be kind of one of the prerequisites. Otherwise, they're not going to really. Oh,
absolutely! It's a good idea. It's a good idea.
And how many people are unemployed as air hostesses and flight attendants? They've done the course and they're not employed?
And that's a good question, Des, because I get that all the time. Training organizations get the question, do you look for jobs for us? No, we don't. We literally a university, or that you do the training and you get your license and you out there and you apply for your own positions. A lot of these young girls and boys don't understand that there's a whole different world in terms of the charter industry. They just see airlines but yes, a lot of them have not found jobs yet, but it will happen at some stage. It will happen for them.
Okay, but now that's not your responsibility, but what kind of advice would you give them when they are looking for a job? What would make them more marketable?
Well, number one, obviously, to have that license. That's the golden egg. That's why they come to us. Number two, whilst they're with us, we go through a lot of interview skills. We encourage them to look at the companies that they are going to obviously send their CVs through to, have a look at what their policies are, what they are flying. And we encourage them, we even give them sort of CVs to follow that they can actually draft their own CV according to that sort of master.
Sure. Well, I know a couple of other players in the industry and they don't do that. So.
Well, thank you.
That is really, really cool. But we're going to hear a little bit more about your SAA stories when we come back after the break.
Excellent.
Have you ever wanted to travel the world? Then maybe it's time to consider a career in aviation. At the Academy of Aviation, we specialize in cabin crew training. On completion of our SACAA accredited 7-week course, you will be fully qualified to take on an exciting career as a cabin crew member. Our training facility, based at Lanseria Airport, prides itself with the highest standard in the industry. At the Academy of Aviation, our motto is, we do not negotiate safety. Contact us today for a free quote or email us at +27 83 600 3102 or jenib@theacademyofaviation.co.za.
Get all of today's aviation news on one site. Visit pilotspost.com. Updated twice a week, Pilots Post is a convenient way for aviation professionals and enthusiasts to remain updated with the latest aviation technologies, products, events, and news. Aviation safety, technical information, events reports, aircraft reviews, and aviation personalities are some of our most popular articles. Now in its 5th year with more than 100,000 hits per month and almost 15,000 dedicated readers, Pilots Post is available free on the web. No registration is required. To read Pilots Post, simply go to www.pilotspost.com.
And welcome back to the Aviation Show, live with Jeni Bester in 27 boxes in Melville. So tell us quickly your SAA, some of these SAA stories. I mean, first of all, tell us what is your most favorite place to fly to? And then maybe you can tell us a couple of happenings.
Sure. I think for every cabin crew member, their favourite place is all very different. In my case, my best was obviously based on the things that happened there, but I really enjoyed Bangkok, Singapore, and believe it or not, Perth. We used to call it Perthfontein, but Perth.
Why those places? Why not Paris?
No, let's not even talk about Paris. It's not a place that I want to go to again. I've done Paris and it's not sort of user friendly for me.
Why? Because they speak like they've got a little bit of a frog in their throat.
I don't.
We hear them taking off out of Joburg here. Then you get Franz and 995 Super.
There we go. And you know what? Some people like Paris. I'm just not one of them.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've been to Paris a couple of times
and
I think Paris might be better. Eh?
Yeah, there we go. Local is lekker.
Okay, so tell us some stories. What was so nice about flying? What did you get up to? Seeing as you had like 15 days off, what did you do?
15 days off, you wish. There's lots of stories that we can tell. And again, do I tell them all? Is it really worth sharing all the stuff? But in my case, I've got a few stories in terms of what passengers have asked and said to us, and then of course the shenanigans that we as cabin crew get up to when we are droning on an international flight.
Okay, are you prepared to tell us those things?
Sure. I remember a story very clearly. A colleague of mine, and of course, when you're flying and you're pretty bored up there, and everybody's sleeping, and half your cabin crew are in the cabin crew rest area. And yes, guys, we do have bunks to sleep in. But it's half off and half on. So while you're on duty and you've kind of prepared for the next service, which is breakfast just before landing, what do? When you're on your way to New York? You sit and you stare at each other. You may not sleep. So we get up to some shenanigans.
Okay, which are what?
A colleague of mine once, and I have to laugh. I mean, she was quite entertaining. But what she did was there were 3 of us on duty that evening, and she wrapped herself up in toilet paper from head to toe, made little eyes, got into the toilet, and it was our duty to call our other colleagues to go, because we have to do toilet checks every 20 minutes, check that nobody's sleeping in the nobody's in the toilets and smoking and yeah. And as this colleague of ours opened the toilet door, she fell out and groaned, and of course she looked like a mummy. Yeah.
It's like in the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night, and that's just crew to crew, I mean, she used to climb up in stowages at the top and groan, and somebody would walk into the galley, a cabin crew member, and it's dark, and she would be moaning from the stowage, and they don't know what's going on. It's actually quite entertaining. She was entertaining.
So it's fun and games. Does that depend on your in charge as well, or your purser, as to how much fun you can have, or do you just kind of?
Yeah, it kind of sort of hangs off the group dynamics, and we kind of start bonding that stuff in a pre-flight briefing. We know who we can play with and have fun with, and who we shouldn't really do that with. So, yeah, it does.
And you get one, I just want to hear one click, really strict.
Oh, absolutely,
Hildegard.
we get those. Some funny things passengers have said to me is, are you flying back immediately? You get to London, are you flying back? Well, yeah, no. But another one that passengers often ask is, do you guys eat?
Yeah, like duh.
Like, dude, I'm human. But
I'm not a robot, eh?
I'm not a robot.
So now, while all this is happening and everything else, I mean, have you ever had emergencies and experienced emergencies?
Sure, absolutely. I can mention a couple that I know about, and obviously being a cabin crew member, we get to train with that stuff. But I'm here to tell my tale, so that's what we train for, you know, so we can manage those situations. And absolutely, I've had emergencies. I haven't experienced a full evacuation, which in hindsight I'm actually quite sad about, because I would like to have.
Sure,
but it's
I don't know
something you
about
don't
that.
really want to do.
Yeah,
But I would like to have had that experience.
Yes, as long as not your name on the paperwork, then it's
No,
okay.
exactly. But Des, let me tell you something. All the stuff that we train for, honestly, you can take it out into the community. I mean, our aviation medicine training is actually quite stringent, and those are for medical emergencies, in-flight birth, and people who obviously have heart attacks and stop breathing. But interesting, I actually did take it once out into the community where there was a little 2-year-old that had drowned. And at home, I was just hearing the screaming, and I was trying to check where it was coming from. And I got in my car and drove around, and they called me. And because of the training that I received at SAA, and thanks to Sister Linda and her team, I was able to do CPR on this 2-year-old, bring him back to life. And unfortunately, he didn't make it after about 5 or 6 days. He did pass on, but I did get a pulse back, and I was actually amazed that the training I had received,
Heart kicks in.
and I could use it in sort of the community.
We've got a very similar story, although I've had 4 live CPRs.
Wow.
Can you believe it? 4. 3 of them were successful, fully successful, and then one, I think the woman was actually passed on before we got there. But yeah, the same experience. I mean, because of the training, we were calm and we just managed to handle the situation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I mean, who do you know that's not a paramedic that's had 4 live CPRs?
Exactly.
It's
That's
crazy.
unusual.
Really, really, really crazy. Okay, so tell us a little bit. Do you miss flying now that you've stopped?
Hell no.
You must miss the flying a little bit, but not the,
No, I actually don't
all
miss
the
the
rigmarole
flying.
that goes around it.
I miss some of my colleagues. I miss some of the places. But it got to a stage where getting there became a mission for me. I needed to be at home. I needed to be with a family. I needed that stability of home life. So whilst I miss some of the places and some of my colleagues, getting there, I don't miss it all.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about your family life then.
Family life at home, got 3 kids and 4 dogs and picket fence, and that's what I like now. Picket fence, 4 dogs, 3 kids, and that's it.
And home by 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
There's silence.
No, I start very early, so I'm home probably at about 4 o'clock. That's why I'm looking at you like that.
Okay, and if you had the opportunity to do it all again, would you do it again, or would you do
Absolutely,
something
I would.
differently?
I would absolutely, and that's why I encourage, I mean, for me, my passion would be to give those children, those kids or young adults these days, an opportunity to experience what I experienced. I mean, the worst day of flying beats the best day of normal work. And you should know that you're in aviation, and a lot of these people don't know how to go about applying and where do we go, because they will go straight to the SAAs and they just hit brick walls. So, you know, this is where they start, and I want them to have what I had. If I could do it again, I would certainly do it again. It was the most amazing time, and yes, there were frustrating times. One story, when I was kicked in the leg for a Coke by a passenger, and yeah, no speaking, just one Coke after I was kicked. And I must be honest, I was pretty angry, but then one has to recognize cultural diversity in that stage, and I was young. So I kind of walked away, and I got a colleague of mine to go back and serve him his Coke, because I wasn't going to be pleasant from there onwards. So
I would have left the can closed and shaken it and given it to
no,
them.
you can't do that, because at the end of the day, they still pay your salary. So yeah, what you think and what you do are 2 different things, Des.
And then you smile and wave.
Yeah, smile to automatic and cross-check.
Now, when you were I won't call you an air hostess, I'll call you cabin crew. When you
A
were
flight attendant,
yes,
please.
Flight attendant. When you were standing at the door, were you like one of those that just said goodbye, goodbye, goodbye? Or did you personalize it a little bit? And
Des, I must be honest, it depends on how fatigued you are. If you, like you mentioned earlier on, this east-west flying can be particularly tiring.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on where your mind is. And I must be honest, I have had those moments where it was goodbye, goodbye. But then there have been moments where I really got involved with my passengers and we had fun. On a flight to Sao Paulo, we had a passenger on board that was a magician. We were in an empty flight and he actually approached me and said, would I mind if he entertains the passengers? I said, go ahead. But that was a fun flight. So, yeah, you do get a bit automatic sometimes. But I try to believe that I was nice. Most of the time.
And you just smiled and waved. That's what.
Smiled and
what it's
waved, and
about.
as they get off, the next lot get on.
Okay. And then passengers that are kind of not sitting where they're supposed to be or sitting in business class instead of first class, how does that actually get picked up?
Well, what do you mean sitting in business class and not first class? Were they?
I know of people, we won't mention any names. I know of people that were booked into economy and then they sat in business class.
Oh, did they move up?
Yeah,
on
they
their own?
upgraded themselves, yes.
They upgraded themselves, free upgrade. How do we manage that?
Yeah, how do you know who's sitting where? Is there like
Oh, no, we have passenger lists as to, and we know, I mean, we know exactly in a pre-flight briefing, we get to know roughly what passengers or how many heads we're supposed to have in each class. And then we get passenger lists, and when you start talking first class, which they don't have anymore, huh? It's business class and economy, but either way, we know we have a passenger list because we need to call every passenger in business class by name. We address you by name.
Okay.
So if he's in that seat and it's not on the passenger list,
and who are you?
who are you?
And is there special training for that? For first class and business class passengers, or does any cabin
In terms of service?
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In my day, we used to do, obviously, first class training. I mean, those were the days that we had roasts on board and we used to carve the meat in the aisle and we used to have 2 different soups on board. And so we used to have to check before we took off for carving knives and boards and everything. I mean, you don't put off and park when you're up there for teaspoons and sugar. So yes, it was intense training for that. But again, you know, that's kind of like pretty much gone away.
So I know the low-cost kind of model has taken over, but how do you justify a ticket to London costs 10,000 Rand, for example, in economy, and then first class is closer to 100? So how do you justify the difference, the 90,000 Rand difference between sitting in first class and sitting in economy?
Des, to be honest with you, if I had the funds, obviously it's all dependent on funds. So right now I'd be in economy class, but if I had the funds, I would go up into business class purely from the aspect of seating and the ability to lie flat. I think people feel so much different when they've had the chance to lie flat and sleep on the aircraft as opposed to sitting up for 10 and a half, 12 hours.
Sure.
So yes, I would probably, if I had the funds, I would spoil myself and fly business or first class just to be able to lie flat.
So you can actually get to London refreshed and as if you had a normal night's sleep.
Sure. I mean, if you look at it as north-south flying, so east-west is different.
It's no problem. Wow. Okay, well, we're going to go to a quick story and then you need to tell us all about your company and where we can get hold of you. We'll be back.
Real aviation stories with Debella.
Submit your real life story to www.debella.co.za.
And you could be featured on the Aviation Show live on brandlive.co.za or in our upcoming book.
Okay, so welcome back, and I've got Jeni Bester in studio with me again. And I think first of all, tell us a little bit about your company, where they can get hold of you, what the requirements are, can anybody apply, all that type of stuff.
Yes, Des, thanks for the question. My company is based at Lanseria Airport, and I'm a person that likes my customer, be it a pilot or cabin crew member, to have that customer experience. So, based at Lanseria, the cabin crew members will do that 7-week training course, and
anybody can do that. Is there
absolutely.
like a matric requirement or what?
Very little. No, they don't have to have a matric. They need to be 18 years of age. That's the minimum entry. They need to be able to converse in English that makes them understandable, And that's pretty much it. Hey, a lot of times I get the question, what about size and weight? And obviously it does play a role when you're now going to apply for a job. But we will train anybody. Again, I also do have a bit of a selection board because they carry my brand forth. And I don't want my brand going out there and
Where were you trained?
Yeah, where did you train? Well, that's not great. So I do have a bit of a selection criteria, but that's in-house.
Okay. And where can they get hold of you?
Des, they can visit the website on www.theacademyofaviation.co.za. Alternatively, they can call me on my cell phone number on 083-600-3102. Or even they can email me directly at Jeni B. Let me spell that for you. It's JENIB at theacademyofaviation.co.za.
And B is for Bester.
And B is for Bester.
Okay, so tell us quickly before we go, just some funny story that happened while you were training. Is there anything that pops into your mind? Or?
Yes, actually, I'm glad you asked that question, and I hadn't thought about this one, but in the good old days gone by, when we used to fly to the east, we used to have obviously the Eastern culture so that they could converse with our passenger, and obviously they needed to be trained in safety procedures too. Well, in the event of an unlikely emergency, what happens is we start shouting commands where it's emergency, emergency, grab your ankles, get your heads down. Now, let's understand that's South African Airways policy. Well, we were standing there and we were hearing, emergency, emergency, kapa anchor, get your head down. And we looked at each other, didn't know what was going on, and that was us. We were done. So yeah, we have some funny experiences. A lot of people are afraid of water and they can't swim, and so yeah.
Makes it interesting. Well, Jeni, we've run out of time so quickly, hey? So thank you for joining us on the Aviation Show. We hope to see you on board soon.
Thank you, Des.
Until next week, Tuesday, same time, same place.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, man. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to The Aviation Show on brandlive.co.za, proudly brought to you by DeBella Training.
Visit www.debella.co.za now.